All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott, formerly of Rankin Technical College. And as part of my YouTube channel, and I know I keep going back to it, JPS-Jeff Teaches Programming, which currently has one YouTube playlist in it, Jeff Teaches Programming-Python, which has in it 76 videos. I've been trying to teach people the Python programming language. We've gone through the gamut pretty much. But most of the ones that we've done previously have been console applications. And I'm getting into the world of GUI using TKinter. All right. And let's see here. Previously, I'd written this Python program. It's a console program, which is a guessing game. And if we run it, you can see on here, all right, so enter a maximum number to guess, and we can play this, and let's just use a 2 here, and we'll put 50. It was too low, so we'll put in 75. That's too low, we'll put in 87. That's too high, we'll put in 82. That's too high, let's put in 78. That's too low, 80. That's it, and it took 6 guesses. And you can play it again and again and again if you'd like to. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I'd like to go back and I'd like to rewrite this. All right, and I'd like to rewrite it using TKinter and make it a GUI app. But before I do, let's go back, and we were working before on this payroll program. And in the payroll program, I had added some rows. I had added the total number of employees, the lowest paid employee, the highest paid employee, the average employee, and the total payroll. And if I run this one, what you're going to see is this is what it looks like. If I click calculate, it says first name and last name are both mandatory. So I'll put Jeff in there, and I'll put Scott in there. And I'll leave these two blank, and now you'll get both hours worked and hourly rate are mandatory. If I put in a value here that's out of range, like -4, well, try that again, -4. All right, notice I get, well, they're both mandatory, so let's just throw something in here. All right, hours worked must be between 0 and 84. In the same way, if I come in here and put in 85, I should get the same error message. And I do. Now, if I put 40 in here, and I run the same thing as before, so if I put in here -6, notice hourly rate must be between 0 and 99. And if I put in 100, which is again out of range, boom. All right. But if I do come in here and put in 25, it should give me 1,000, and it does. So I've got one employee, $1,000. I probably could have made this 2 decimal places, but I didn't. All right. And really I should. Maybe I'll go back and do that because it'll look a little nicer. ClearWorks, I go back to here. So now let's just do my whole family. So Sandy, Scott, let's say that she worked 50 hours and makes $50 an hour. Well, that should be 2,000. I don't know, like $27.50 or something like that. There it is. So that's the new high. That was the low. Adding these two together and dividing by 2, we get $18.75 for the average and the total payroll. All right, if I clear again, and I'll put in Taylor Scott. That's not her married name, but we'll put in here 30, and that should be 900. Notice it's a new smallest amount. All right. We clear again. We'll put in my youngest daughter, and let's say that she was 60 and 60. That's the new high. All right, and finally we'll do my middle daughter, and let's say that she 80 and 80. So you can see it is working. It is adding to my total employees. It's adding my lowest paid is being done, my highest pay, It's adding up all the payrolls and dividing by, in this case, 5 to get the average. All right, so we can clear. Now notice when I click exit, if I say no, it stays right there. And if I say yes, it does exit. Okay, so all of it's working now, in other words. The only thing that I probably could do in here to make this a little nicer that I did not do earlier, and that is the, let's see, this min, max, etc. Yeah, this is the update entry. That's here, TKend, insert, string value. Yeah, the way it's written, it's not going to work very well. It's just going to be for one decimal place. I could jack with it, but I'm not going to do that. But let's look at what I did here. Again, create a simple Python payroll program using TKinter, and it has 11 rows in it. We talked about that earlier. All right, my constants: minimum hours, minimum hourly rate, maximum hourly rate, maximum numbers of hours you can work without overtime, and the overtime rate. All right. In my init, basically I'm setting up root, and this has got a class in it, so everything is going to have self in front of it, or almost everything. All right, we don't need it for the geometry. I made this 800 by 800 with some padding in here. Set up global font settings and a global widget width. All right, and here's this payroll data that you see in here. These are our totals. So this is the new things I added: the total number of employees, the total payroll, the lowest paid employee, the highest paid employee, and the average employee. Now we could have made these 0, all right, but there aren't any yet because we haven't run it, and that's why I've made them none. Self.createWidgets is setting up every row. This is exactly the same as what we had before, except now we have to say self.root instead of root, and self.font settings instead of font settings. In addition, we added again rows 6 to 10 for the total number of employees, the lowest paid employee, the highest paid employee, the average paid employee, and the total payroll. Then in here, this is our calculate gross pay. And as you can see, it's all inside of a try except block. So I go and grab everything from the first name, strip any blanks, leading or trailing blanks, put that in first name. Same thing with last name. Same thing with hours worked. Same thing with hourly rate. And then I check. So we'll put in here, verify that neither first name nor last name are empty. All right, if they are, we're raising an error. And then, even though I really didn't have to do this, I did the same thing here with hours worked and with hourly rate. Now, if I get down to here, all right, if I get down to here, I had something in both these. So, attempt to convert what is in hours worked and hourly rate entry fields into their float equivalent. And if it doesn't work, it's going to raise its own error. All right. Then over here, this is a range check for hours worked. In other words, must be between 0 and 84. All right. We've talked about this previously. And if it does not fall within range, we raise a value error. Then we do the range check for the hourly rate. And that must be between 0 and 99.99. Again, we can put here 0.00 and 0.00 and 0.00. All right. Now, if we get down this far, as it says, both the hours worked and the hourly rate were valid. In other words, both of them were between or within the valid ranges. For hours worked, 0 to 84. For hourly rate, 0 to 99.99. So we come in and we try to calculate the gross pay. We say, hey, did you work more than 40 hours? So worked greater than 40 hours, the person has OT coming. So we figure out what their overtime is. The number of hours they work minus 40. And their gross pay, this would be their straight time. So that's 40 times their regular rate. And this is their overtime times their rate times 1.5, because that's their overtime pay. If we get down to the else, no overtime was worked. So their gross is just the hours worked times the hourly rate. Then we call this update payroll stats, because we now know the gross pay, which we pass into that. We'll get down to this in just a moment. But for the update payroll stats, well, what do we know? Well, we just added an employee. So we increment our total number of employees by 1. Then we increment our total pay accumulator by the current gross pay. Then we figure out what the low is by comparing whatever was in the low, all right, with the gross pay we just figured out. We do the same thing with the high. And then for the average, it's just that total payroll that we had up here divided by the total number of employees. All right. Then we come in and we say update the current entry. Notice I wrote one routine for all of these. These are all put into read-only text boxes. So we make the read-only, which we currently have, non-read-only, so we can write to it. We delete whatever's in there, insert our entry, and then make it read-only again. All right. The only thing I skipped here, as it says, was to do the same type of thing here with this insert. All right. And actually with this, I don't think I can do what I want to do here, but we'll look. Yeah. So what I really want to do here is I want to do this. Insert current entry. I want a $sign there, but it's okay the way it is. Clear fields is the same thing I did earlier. That hadn't had to change. Exit program or not hasn't had to change, except, again, I have to add the self dot in front of all these. Pass self in and the self dot. All right, finally, as it says, we set up the program interface, create the main window, instantiate the app, and then call main loop to run it. All right, so that's file, that's save all. Okay, and let's do this then. I'm up to here. So I've got my payroll GUI 1 and my payroll GUI 2. Let's put a new folder in here that we're going to call guessing game. All right, and in here, I'm going to create a new file. Again, it'll just be, yeah, we'll put in main.py. That's fine. All right, now what I'm going to do to make my life a little bit easier for me is I'm going to come back to this game that I had in here before, and I'm going to copy in the majority of the comments that were in here. Okay. So there it is. Copy that. Well, I'll leave this open just in case I need it. I don't think I will, but I'm going to do that. And now I'm going to come in here Okay, so now I've got some comments. I've got a starting point, in other words. Write a Python, let's change this to TKinter program to generate a random number between either 1 and 10, 1 and 100, or 1 and 1,000, and ask the user to guess that number. Now, this was a thing in there if you wanted to look to see how to generate a random number. All right. We'll put in some constants in there. All right. And let's see. At the end of each iteration, we'll ask the user if they want to run the program again and let them do so as much as possible. All right. We'll put in the code to clear all the variables at the beginning of each program run. We'll put in the code that'll generate the random number, put in the code that makes the user make a guess, put in the code to determine the guess status. All right. And I gave some examples in there of how it'll work. So let's just get to it. So I'm going to start by importing TKinter as TK, like I've been doing. I'm going to say from TKinter, and I'm going to import message box. Also from random, I'm going to import rand int. Okay? All right, next I'm going to set some constants. The minimum number I'm going to allow to guess is going to be 1. All right, and I've got 3 different maximum numbers. We could do these any way we wanted, but let's call them, I don't know, easy, medium, and hard. How about that? So min number, let's just put in here easy, and that'll be equal to 10. So that's if I want to guess a random number between 1 and 10. All right, we'll have min number, let's call it, oh, I don't know what I'm doing there, number MED for medium, and that'll be equal to, we'll make that equal to 100. That was the game I just played. And finally, we'll have min number hard. Guess this didn't do a very good job of this, and that'll be 1,000. All right, so I can put in a 1. I'm sorry, I can guess a number between 1 and 10, or a number between 1 and 100, or a number between 1 and 1,000. All right. I'm also going to stick in some local, or I should say that again, some global variables. All right, and we'll call this number to guess, and I'll set that equal to 0. We'll have total guesses, and that'll be set equal to 0. And we will have the maximum number, and that'll be equal to 0. If those don't make sense, please just bear with me, because we're going to start writing it right now. All right, well, the first thing I want to do, and again, the order in which you do these isn't going to exactly matter the order you put them in, but the first thing I want to do is I want to set my upper limit. So, set the upper limit for the game based on the choice of the user. All right, and we'll call it, why not just call it what it is? So set upper limit, and it'll be the user's selection. You know, they'll select a 1 if they want it to be easy, a 2, etc. Now, I can do this in different ways. I can do this, first of all, we need the number to guess. So we'll put global here, number to guess, and also max number. All right. Now, because I'm just a forgetful person in many ways, I'm just going to say here, Python switch case. Okay. And we're going to look at an example of one. We can use an if, and it'll work just fine. All right, but I'm going to grab this. All right, and don't worry, I'm going to get an error here. Don't worry about it. Oops. All right, let's fix this right away. So we're going to do a match based on the selection. All right, if it's a 1, then the max number is going to be equal to number, what did I call this? Oh, this is the min. That should be max. I'm sorry. So that's max, and that's max. All right. So this will be number between 1 and 10. If it's a 2, all right, it'll be number medium, and it'll be a number between 1 and 100. If it's 3, it'll be hard, because it'll be a number between 1 and 1,000. All right, so there's all that. Finally, the default. Well, if it's a default, I'll put in a message box. And I'll just say, how about invalid input? And we'll say, please select an option between 1 and 3. Something like that. Okay. Now, after that, if this is an error, all right, we can return. All right. But when I get down to here, now I can say number to guess is going to be equal to, what did I call it? I thought it was number to guess, right? Number to guess oh, I've got to move that over. There we go. So the number to guess is going to be equal to rand int between the minimum number, which is 1, and max number, which is what we just figured out. All right, then we can start the game. Now, if I've confused you at all, let's quickly go through all of this. I'm not going to go through the comments. I'm bringing in TKinter, and I don't want that to be TAK. I want that to be TK. All right, I'm bringing in the message box, and I'm bringing in randint. My constants, my minimum number is always going to be 1. My maximum number will be 10. If I choose option 1, it'll be 100 if I choose option 2, and it'll be 1,000 if I choose option 3. That's why we've got min number, max number easy, max number medium, max number hard. Our global variables, the number we want to guess, the total guesses we've made, and the max number, which is going to, again, be one of these three. All right, so the first thing I put in here was to set this upper limit. Now, I haven't even written a main yet, so we're not going to worry about that right now. All right? We haven't written our main function. We're just writing this, so that's going to set our upper limit. Now, what I can do, all right, is we can come in here and we can set this thing up, for lack of better words. All right? We can set up our main application window and all the other goodies. Now, we're going to get that error because we haven't written start the game yet. But let's put this stuff in there. So this will be our main application window. So I'm going to say root equal. Remember, you don't have to use the word root. All right. We'll just call this guessing game GUI. All right, we can make this any size we want. I'm going to make it 500 by 500. Probably is going to be too big, but that's okay. All right, and we need to set up our window, which is actually going to be pretty simple. So we could call another routine right here, or we can set it up right here. I'm only going to have a label, a guess, and like a button. That's about all I'm going to have in here. All right? That's going to really be just about it. Now, I could put other stuff in here. I can put an exit button in, etc. Since it's so small, I'm just going to put the widgets right here. All right, so right under here, I'm going to put in what? The guessing game widgets. All right, so the first thing we want in here is we want some kind of a label that's going to give us feedback. All right, now when I did this before, I think I called it LBL, and if I didn't, I should have. So we'll call this LBL feedback. All right, and that's going to be equal to tk.label, be stuck to the root, and it's going to have nothing in it because that's where we're going to give feedback. All right, we'll put the label in there then, and we'll put in some padding. Next to that, we're going to put in our guess. And it's going to be an entry field. Which again will be bound to root. Put some padding in here too. We'll have our button. And we'll put in here, I know we put in whatever we want, of course, but I'll put in here, how about submit guess. And for the command, we're going to have that equal to check guess, which is going to check our guess. We haven't written that yet, so we're getting an error. Don't worry about that. We'll fix it in a bit. All right. So that's going to basically be our widgets. Finally, let's see. All right. We'll say start game selection window. We're going to write that one next. And it'll be called start game selection window. Again, we haven't written it yet, so it's giving us an error, and that's fine. Finally, we'll do our root.main loop. Now we're getting an error here because we haven't written this one. All right, so let's write this one next. All right, we've already got this. So in here, we're going to need to start the game. All right, so that's going to have to be here. Def start the game. For now, let's just put a pass in here. All right, now we're going to have another def in here. That's going to be our start game selection window. Again, if I put a pass in here, everything is hunky-dory. All right, but what I want to do is I want to literally set up that window. All right, so let's do that. Now, be a little bit ugly. Probably should have made this wider than I did. Let's take a look at it when we get done and see what it looks like. How's that? All right, so in here, we're just going to tell it basically to pack it in. Why I've got that. Here we go. Right. All right, so here's going to be our buttons. And we've got easy. Let's just put all three of them in. This will be medium. And instead of 1 to 10, which is what that should be, instead of 1 to 10, it'll be 1 to 100. And that'll be an upper limit of 2. This will be an upper limit of 3, and it'll be 1 through 1,000. And it'll be hard game. So let's take this, put it there. Let's take this, put it there. There we, whoops, what I wanted. There we go. All right, so all of that hopefully now, is set up. So what do I have to do yet? Well, I have to start the game because it's not working right now because I didn't write it. Once I start the game, I'm going to have to basically sooner or later check my guess. All right, and sooner or later, I'm going to have to ask the user, do you want to play again? Okay. So we've got start the game. We're going to have check the current guess. We'll pass there. And finally, we're going to have the play again. I'll play another game. All right, let's write that one first because it's nice and short. So if message box dot ask yes no another game, play another game. All right, we'll do it like that. That should be okay. It doesn't like something I've done here. Probably it could be because I don't have that. Yep. All right, so if, then we're going to do game selection or start game selection window. All right, otherwise, root.quit. We're done. All right. Again, we're going to go over all of this in just a bit. Okay. So let's start the game next, and then we'll do check current guess, and we'll take a look at where we are time-wise. We're at 37 minutes, so we're doing fine right now for time. All right. So start the game. Looks like I spelled total guesses wrong. So let's fix that. Okay. So total guesses. We'll set it equal to 0 because we're just starting the game. We want to clear out whatever is in our entry. EF guess. All right. That feedback label that we had, which was LBL feedback, okay. And you shouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to anyway. This is not a read-only thing that we're working with, so we'll set the button to normal. All right, so all we have to do now is check the current guess. Now, I don't know right now if I've got errors in here or not. All right, so let's just run it and see. Yep, I do. And that's okay. Not too many, just a couple of them. All right, so we'll have to fix that just a bit. So let's clear this out. And let's write check current guess. Okay. Not a real long routine. All right, it's the current guess. So we need the total number of guesses because we may want to bump it up. And we need the number to guess so we know the range between 1 and that number. Or 1 and... We need to know if we got the guess correct or not. How's that? So we'll do a try here. I'm going to do an accept with a value error. All right, and if that's the case, we're just going to put in the text into that label, and we're going to say here, all guesses must be numeric and between min number and max num. And max number. And we'll try to be nice, so please try again. Okay. So if they put in something non-numeric, that's what we're going to do. And then we will return. All right, so to try now, what do we want to do? This is all hosed up here as far as my tabs. I apologize for that. I do want that pushed way over to the end here, so these are okay. All right. So we're inside of this. Let's fix these two, and then we'll be just about done. This one actually looks like it's correct. This is not. All right, so we're going to come in here. This is our try. And the guess is going to be equal to int ef guess, the entry field guess, dot get. All right, so grab current guess from entry field. If the guess is less than the minimum number, or the guess is greater than the max number, Well, what do we want to do? We want to basically come in here and say raise value error. Right? Because they put in an out of range guess. Okay? So we've got that all here. If we get down to here, guess was valid. Was valid, i.e. the guess made was between 1 and the max number variable value. All right. So we want to come in here and now we want to say total guesses plus equal 1. So what we're doing here is we're going to increment the total guesses counter. And then we have to check to see if the current guess is either too low, too high, or correct. All right, it's got to be one of those three. So if the guess is less than the number to guess, let me just say here again, guess was too low. So if that's the case, we're going to say that feedback label, it's LBL feedback, text is going to be equal to your, let's put an F string in here, your guess of was too low. Please try again. All right. That's if it was too low. Let's let's put an LF in here. If the guess is greater than the number to guess, well, what do we know? We know the guess was too high. All right, so your guess of whatever was too high, try again. Otherwise, you guessed it. So, else you guessed, user guessed the correct number. So if that's the case, this feedback label all right, it'll say the guess, your guess was correct. Correct. It took you that many guesses. Okay. Now the guess button, we're going to disable it now because you just guessed it. We shouldn't let you keep guessing. So btn guess dot config state equals tk dot disabled. Then we're going to ask if you want to play another game. And that should actually be it. Now, it looked like I had errors. We're going to go through these right now, but first let's walk through the logic of the game, okay? We're bringing in TKinter. We're bringing in the message box. We want to be able to create the random number. All right? Our minimum number is always 1. We get to choose, do we want to play a game between 1 and 10, or between 1 and 100, or between 1 and 1,000. If it's 1 and 10, then that maximum number is easy. 1 and 100, it's medium. 1 and 1,000, it's hard. All right? So this is, as it says, then I was going to put comments here, but number to guess, my comment would be this is the number to guess. Total guesses is just that. And max number is going to be, will be set to max number easy, max number medium, or max number hard. Okay? I'll even get rid of this. I'll just say set to one of those. All right? Now, as it says, this will set the upper limit for the game based on the choice of the user. All right? So, there's a number to guess, which we're going to change down here, and that's why we need that. This is our max number, which we're going to set here. I could have done this with an if here. So I could have said if selection equals 1, do this. Elif if it's 2, do this. Elif if it's 3, do this. Else we could do this. I decided to do it to again show you how to use the match with the case. All right. So we're going to come in here and we will determine if the guess will be between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1,000. That's what we're doing here. That's max number. And actually, I'll be able to determine if max number is between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1,000. Okay? So here, what we're doing is we're going to generate the random number. And that's called number to guess. Now that we know what our parameters are, that it's between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1,000, all right, now we can start the game. All right, when we start the game, we're bringing in total guesses, which we are setting equal to 0. All right, so set total guesses accumulator to 0. Then here, clear out any value in the guess entry field. And here we will be provide feedback to the user. We're telling them to enter a guess between that. All right. Then we've got this, and as it says, it'll check the current guess. So we grab the current guess from the entry field, Here, we're going to validate that the guess was within range. If not within range, raise a value error. All right, that should be pretty obvious. And in here, we're just giving the user basically not really an error message, but we're a kind of a clarification message. If we get down this far, as it says, we put in a valid guess. So the guess, as it says there, was between 1 and whatever we figured out max number to be, 10, 100, or 1,000. So we increment our total guesses. Again, this isn't really like, is this a counter? Yeah, I guess so. So that should be total guesses counter. That is better. An accumulator is like if you're adding stuff up every time. We are doing that, but it is just a counter because it's counting how many guesses we've made. Now we want to check to see where our current guess was. It's one of three things. It's either lower than the number we wanted to guess. So we tell them your guess of 30, let's say, was too low. Please try again. Or it was higher than the number that we wanted to guess. All right, our guess was higher than the number. So we say, like, your guess of 30 was too high, please try again. Or they got it right, where we'll say your guess of 30 was correct, something like it took you 3 guesses. All right. Then we disable our guess button because there's no reason to do that. And we ask the user if they want to play again. And that means we just ask them here, you want to play another game? And if they say yes, we call start selection window to build our interface again. Otherwise, we quit. Actually, when you think about it, I think at least it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So let's save. And let's run this. It looked like I had errors. So we'll fix them. I'm not worried about it. All right. So let's see. str has no attribute items. So these are all in our init py. I want to find an error in my code. This isn't mine here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break and try to figure out what this error is and then come back. So let me pause, please. All right, I've got, I guess, what you'd call good news and bad news. And the good news is that if I stop this now and run it, I am getting my window. There it is. A little small, but it's okay. Choose game 1 to 10, and it's not doing anything here. No errors. That's good. But all right, and I'm going to have to go look at that. I'm sure that there is something fairly simple that I'm missing. In fact, I think I know what it is. This, I changed some names because I wanted to make it as self-documenting as possible. So this is called set upper limit with the selection. And I want to make sure that's what I'm calling down here too. I am. Set upper limit, I'm passing a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And this is called with a lambda, all right, which will call it if indeed that's what we choose. So let's say root text command equal lambda colon. Yeah, that looks right to me. I mean, this could be single or double quotes. It really and truly does not matter. So I can put a double quote here and there. But that's not doing anything. I like to use double quotes because they're usually, most languages, they're more required. Now, I did do something earlier where I set the size of the widgets and I set it globally, and that was in the last program that I did. So I'd like to try doing that here. Try to make those buttons a little bigger. I mean, right now, this is really small. Okay. And like I said, nothing's happening when I'm clicking them, which isn't good either. But one thing I could do, I guess, is I could just come down up, I guess, where I've set the size of this. It is down here. And I could make it about half the size it is. So I could make it about 250 by 250. Probably would look a little nicer. Here we go. But again, that should be working, and it's not right now. So I'm going to take a quick look and see if I can figure out why. So I'm going to pause again, take a look, and if I find out what it is, I'll come back and let you know. So let me pause. I'm at like an hour and 2 minutes, so I could quit right now, but I'd rather do this in the same video, so I am going to pause instead.